What we're concerned about is the very fact that you have in existence a set of conditions of service, and regardless of what they say, whether they're righteous or not, but the very fact that their existence prevents you from doing things. Even to the point that I personally have had discussions with employees' representatives where I have offered firefighters better remuneration to make a change, and that's been dismissed on the basis that it doesn't fall within the terms of the Grey Book. And that is what we say is a nonsense, and that's what we think one needs to change. It's not about attacking firefighters' conditions. Okay, so perhaps a little bit of a reality check in some of the issues that we've been talking about so far. By 2018, 50% of government grant will have gone. That equates to around about £318 million. Roughly 8,800 firefighters' jobs in sort of comparative cost terms. I know it wouldn't necessarily relate to jobs specifically, and we've seen some of the other ways in which that might relate. And that comes at a time when we're talking about substantial restriction to council tax, substantial inability to increase that more, despite the will of our local communities to do so, and very, very de minimis figures. Huge difference to a local fire authority is made by increasing council tax at Band E by about £1 a year. A massive difference is made to the provision of the fire authority for a very, very small amount of money. And one can't, less money actually than is raised by increase each year by most parish councils, who are under the wire in terms of council tax capping. So I think there's some realities about what we're talking about. We have to be very, very careful what we take away. And I'm sort of reminded a little bit about childhood illness. When I was a child, which was some time after Ken and I was doing the fledgling home fire safety checks in Surrey, but when I was a child, my mum used to have all these nasty tasting medicines in the cupboard, so that if you got something, she would react to it. She would respond to it, with giving you this medicine, to hopefully make you more comfortable and make you better. Well, I've got a little girl now, and my wife still has horrible tasting medicines in the cupboard, which she uses to respond to my daughter being ill, but we do lots of other things to try to protect her welfare as well, like the invention of the MMR vaccination, which some years ago had a pretty bumpy ride. Everyone was saying this is terrible, it's going to affect children and make them ill, and you had government ministers tasting the vaccine, all that sort of thing going on. And ultimately, now it's pretty much accepted that it is a very, very good risk control measure for childhood disease. Well, that's what a 55% reduction in fire-caused disease, isn't it? Because what we've done, we've put in place lots of risk control measures in order to reduce the risk and reduce the risk and reduce the risk. But, like my wife, if our child should become ill, we need to properly care for them and properly respond to them. And that's about the balance between risk management and response. And you simply can't say that because you have managed risk down, you no longer need to properly respond. You do, even though you may respond less. It does seem perverse that fires have gone down and down and down, and costs have gone up and up. And Chris Hanks, late of the insurance industry, just recently retired, I think, quite vitriolically said last year that the cost of fire was increasing because fire services are simply not doing their job properly. Get out there, control fire losses, put fires out properly, stop worrying about all this defensive firefighting nonsense in the world we all live. Actually, the reason the fire costs have increased is because bricks cost more. Labourers to rebuild damaged properties cost more. It's an economic effect. It's not because the fire service is less effective. Actually, I think the reverse is the case. I think we're more effective. And perhaps the insurance industry might have considered installing sprinklers in some of those buildings, and then they wouldn't be covering that massive fire loss when it should happen. I don't know how many people know about this in the room, but BIS are just at the moment consulting on reducing the fire test standard for foam furniture. And part of the reason for that is that elsewhere in the country, elsewhere in Europe and the world, there is an upsurge of resistance to the treatments of foam furniture because of there's suggestions that the chemicals can be carcinogens, and also the cost of the industry of doing it is now becoming prohibitive. So the answer is to change the test so the test is easier, lower the bar. What that means to us is more dead children. That's what it means to us. So let's not go back. And we must, I think, do everything we can to resist that change.